Welcome to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. This is your host, Christopher Calandra. Want to increase your financial IQ with today's episode. I am tempted to make today's episode a rant because I really want to, but hopefully I refrain from doing that and I keep it on an educational track. This episode is going to be a little bit about some employment numbers that were put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But I urge you, if you haven't listened already, go back a few episodes from this one. Listen to Season 8, Episode 31, which is titled Breaking Down the Latest Unemployment Numbers. It's a perfect pair, the two episodes, Episode 31 and this one you're going to listen to in a moment. Again, please go back and listen to that if you haven't done so already. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics in August of 2024 put out new numbers that declared that they reported 818,000 more jobs that they believe were created in the year that ended March 31st, 2024. So from April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is now telling us that they overreported job creation by 818,000. That is staggering. So over that 1 year period, the BLS, that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, said that 2.9 million jobs were created. So that averages out, if you did the math, to $242,000 round number, 242,000, not dollars, 242,000 jobs being created on average each month. With this revision, that now goes down to 174,000. They were off by 68,000 jobs a month on average. Let me say again, staggering. This, if you do the math, and I'm very into ratios and percentages, the Bureau of Labor Statistics was off by 30%. Once again, staggering. This whole thing is just staggering. I'm so annoyed. That's why I said that I would like to do a rant, because I'm I'm pissed off about this. We rely as financial professionals on these numbers. Wall Street watches these numbers with great anticipation. The Federal Reserve, that makes interest rate policy, relies on these numbers. Politically, you have the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and his Vice President, Kamala Harris, saying every month how they're doing a good job and citing these employment numbers, but they were off. They were off big. Very upsetting. So I asked in the previous episode, episode 31, I referred to that at the beginning of this show, is this the government manipulating things? Is it political? I mean, you can make a pretty good case that it is. Certainly, former President Donald Trump thinks so and has said such. To be off this much, really, you can make a pretty good case it's political manipulation. I also offered up that it's just the government doing a poor job and are incompetent. So with that in mind, there was an interview that Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo gave. This is part of the Biden administration. And it was on ABC. The correspondent, I forget the first name, but it was Whitworth. The correspondent asked Secretary Raimondo about her thoughts about the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, saying more than 800,000 fewer jobs were created. And in the clip, they showed, ABC did, President Trump on a campaign stop railing against how bad these numbers were and manipulated for political reasons. So Secretary Raimondo responded by saying, I don't believe it being the numbers, because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful. So she immediately made it political. Fine, we are in a political season, and so that maybe goes with the territory, whether you like it or not. I think the ABC correspondent, Whitworth, did the right thing, came back to Secretary Raimondo saying it is from the BLS, meaning this statistic is from the BLS. Secretary Raimondo's response to that was, I am not familiar with that. So you have this Secretary of Commerce not familiar with this number, casting doubt on this number, making it political. So the comedy of this, if you want to view it comically as opposed to being angry or sad or disappointed, is that the BLS is part of the Commerce Department. It is under the control and leadership of Secretary Raimondo, and she goes on TV and doesn't know anything about this number, casts doubt on it, makes it political, when it was ultimately part of her organization that she's responsible for, that she leads. She doesn't know anything about it. Boy, that's a strong hint that maybe they are just incompetent. So staggering, all of this is staggering. We're not going to do a rant though, right? We're going to make it educational, which leads me to this. Our mid-year economic update that Elliott Wealth Management Services put out talked about our base case being a soft landing. And then when I did a version of the economic update with my partner, Brett, part of the team here at Elliott Wealth Management, Brett DiPasquale, we talked about the likelihood that there are rate cuts before the end of the year. At the beginning of 2024, I was suspect about that. Mid-year, I was still questioning whether the Federal Reserve actually would act before the end of the year and cut interest rates. A lot has happened, so I had updated that recently to the thought that the Federal Reserve is likely to cut interest rates. With this new news that 818,000 fewer jobs were created over the last year plus, it shows more weakness in the job market, more weakness in the economy than we were led to believe, which brings me to an update that the Federal Reserve is very likely to cut maybe as early as this month, that would be September 2024, and is very likely to cut more than once before the end of the year. Now, this opinion is not bringing me out into no man's land. This is conventional wisdom today. And the odds, if you look at the betting odds and other statistics that are put out there, the odds-on favorite is for the Fed to cut twice before the end of the year. So I am in the camp of conventional wisdom. And part of that is because of these terrible revisions that show that we were misled either purposefully or through bad government execution of their jobs. You could read that to mean incompetence. But I do think we're likely to get interest rate cuts as early as this month, September 2024, and probably 2 rate cuts before the end of 2024. So that is something to watch for. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I'll be back with you on the next episode very soon. Thanks for listening today.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of Osaic Wealth, Inc., and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of information provided at these websites. Nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to or your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC, Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management Services, LLC, not affiliated with Osaic Wealth, Inc.